Welcome to Lesson 2 of Module 6 on Notation for Entity Relationship Diagrams. I'm going to start with an important question about wide variance in notation for ERDs. Why have ERD standards not been developed and adopted? Lesson 2 provides your first experience with using entity relationship diagrams. This lesson introduces the crow's foot notation for ERDs, a popular notation supported by many database design tools. You will learn basic symbols on an ERD, especially the cardinality symbols. Other lessons in this module will present variations of the basic symbols for more specialized data modeling requirements. The objectives in this lesson focus on the most widely used symbols on an ERD. You should be able to explain the cardinality symbols in your own words. To avoid confusion with the relational database diagrams shown in Modules 2 to 5, you should be able to explain the major differences between an ERD and a relational database diagram. ERDs have three basic elements: entity types, relationships, and attributes. Entity types represent collections of physical things, such as books, people, and places, as well as events, such as payments. An entity is a member or instance of an entity type. In the crow's foot notation, as well as in many other notations, rectangles denote entity types. In this ERD, the course entity type represents a set of courses in the database. Attributes are properties of entity types or relationships. An entity type should have a primary key as well as other descriptive attributes. Attributes are shown inside an entity type rectangle. Underlining indicates that the attribute or attributes serves as the primary key of the entity type. Relationships are named associations among entity types. In the crow's foot notation, relationship names appear on the line connecting the entity types involved in the relationship. In this ERD, the has relationship shows that the course and offering entity types are directly related or connected. Relationships store associations in both directions. For example, the has relationship shows the offerings for a given course and the associated course for a given offering. Informally, ERDs have a natural language correspondence. Entity types can correspond to nouns and relationships to verbs or prepositional phrases connecting nouns. In this sense, one can read an entity relationship diagram as a collection of sentences. For example, this ERD can be read as course has offerings. You should use the natural language correspondence as a guide rather than as a strict rule. For large ERDs, you will not always find a good natural language correspondence for all parts of a diagram. Cardinalities constrain the number of objects that participate in a relationship. To depict the meaning of cardinalities, an instance diagram is useful. This diagram shows a set of courses, course 1, course 2, course 3, a set of offerings, offering 1, offering 2, offering 3, offering 4, and connections between the two sets. Course 1 is related to offering 1, offering 2, and offering 3. Course 2 is related to offering 4, and Course 3 is not related to any entities. Likewise, offering 1 is related to Course 1, offering 2 is related to Course 1, offering 3 is related to Course 1, and offering 4 is related to Course 2. From this instance diagram, we might conclude that each offering is related to exactly one course. In the other direction, each course is related to 0 or more offerings. The crow's foot notation uses three symbols to represent cardinalities. The crow's foot symbol, that is two angled lines in one straight line, denotes many, that's 0 or more, related entities. In this ERD, the crow's foot symbol near the offering entity type means that a course can be related to many offerings. The circle means a cardinality of 0, while a line perpendicular to the relationship line denotes a cardinality of 1. To depict minimum and maximum cardinalities, the cardinality symbols are placed adjacent to each entity type in a relationship. the minimum cardinality symbol appears on the inside toward the relationship name, while the maximum cardinality symbol appears on the outside towards the entity type. In this ERD, a course is related to a minimum of 0 offerings, that is a circle in the inside position, and a maximum of many offerings, that is a crow's foot in the outside position. Similarly, an offering is related to exactly one, that is one and only one course, as shown by the single vertical lines in both inside and outside positions. Cardinalities are classified by common values for minimum and maximum cardinality. This table shows 2 classifications for minimum cardinalities. A minimum cardinality of 1 or more indicates a mandatory relationship. For example, participation in the has relationship is mandatory for each offering due to the minimum cardinality of 1. A mandatory relationship makes the entity type existence dependent on the relationship. The offering entity type depends on the has relationship because an offering entity cannot be stored without a related course entity. In contrast, a minimum cardinality of 0 indicates an optional relationship. For example, the has relationship is functional for offering because an offering entity can be related to a maximum of 1 course. The word function comes from mathematics, where a function gives 1 value. A relationship that has a maximum cardinality of 1 in one direction and more than 1, that's many, in the other direction is called 1-m, read one-to-many relationship. The has relationship shown in this lesson is one-to-many. A relationship that has a maximum cardinality of more than 1 in both directions is known as an m-to-n or many-to-many relationship. In this ERD, the team teaches relationship allows multiple professors to jointly teach the same offering. Many-to-many relationships are common in business databases to represent the connection between parts and suppliers, authors and books, and skills and employees. For example, a part can be supplied by many suppliers, and a supplier can supply many parts. Less common are one-to-one relationships in which the maximum cardinality equals 1 in both directions. For example, the works-in relationship in this ERD allows a faculty to be assigned to one office and an office to be occupied by at most one faculty. To create ERDs and understand ERDs created by others, you need to grasp the differences between ERD notation and relational database diagrams. Here are some major differences that you should remember. Relational database diagrams do not use names for relationships. The ERD notation uses relationships, while a relational database diagram uses foreign keys. For example, offering.course number is a column in the relational database diagram, but not an attribute in the ERD. The has relationship in ERD is really roughly equivalent to the foreign key offering.course number in the relational database diagram. The cardinality symbol near a parent, that is an entity type or table, is different. The ERD uses perpendicular lines, while the Oracle relational database diagram uses the arrow. In other modules, you will see other differences, as well as rules to convert from an ERD to a table design. Now, let's wrap up Lesson 2 about basic notation for ERDs. This module introduced you to the popular crow's foot ERD notation. The most widely used symbols on an ERD were presented. You should develop a clear understanding of the cardinality symbols, especially the major types of minimum and maximum cardinalities. To avoid confusion, you should understand the major differences between ERDs and relational database diagrams. The major difference is the usage of named relationships in ERDs versus foreign keys in relational database diagrams. In answer to the opening question, ERD notation has never been effectively standardized. It is doubtful that standards will ever emerge. No vendor has enough market power to force standardization. The relational model captured the DBMS marketplace, so the ERD notation became a supplement to the relational model, decreasing the need for an ERD standard. The closest standard is the Unified Modeling Language, known as a UML. The UML contains a data modeling notation, as well as other notations to support software development. Because the UML is used more for software development than database design, the data modeling notation of the UML has not supplanted ERD notation. One of the most difficult parts about learning to create and read ERDs is the plethora of notations. Even the crow's foot notation has many variations. You should focus on learning the notation used in this course, but expect to see many variations in practice.